Hello everyone, welcome to the third dungeon of the game, the Ocean Temple, also known as the Marine Temple. As soon as you enter, if you go to the right, you'll find a passageway that is blocked by rolling boulder, so we can't go that way just yet, I suppose. Off to the left, instead, you'll find a new enemy called a yellow choo-choo. These ones are electrically charged most of the time, so you don't want to hit them with your sword unless you like getting zapped. Similar to ice choo-choos we've seen before. Either wait till they're done being all zappy-like, or stun them with a whirlwind or boomerang so you can take them out. These stone tablets here give you clues about how to solve a puzzle one floor up. You should mark your map with this information so we can use it here in a moment. Up ahead we have some traps sticking out of the wall that will shoot you with arrows once you pass within their sights. You can block them with your shield as long as you're facing them, but it's probably easier to just run along the bottom and avoid them all entirely. Now these traps here are a little bit trickier. We need to stand on the platform here, which slowly goes left. There's two ways you can avoid getting hit with the arrows. The first way is to just face towards them, and Link will automatically block them with his shield. Keep in mind, though, that he will get knocked back each time, so be sure not to fall off the edge. I'll show the other way here in just a second. These next traps will only shoot you if you hit the switches in the wrong order. Use the clues we found one floor down to hit them in the correct order that I have marked on my map. So this switch changes which hole the boulders are falling down, but that also prevents us from going back the way we came. To solve this puzzle, you need to use your boomerang to hit the switch instead. This allows you to progress one floor down, so work your way back to the entrance area. As we pass through here, I'll show the other method of avoiding the arrows. Rather than blocking them with your shield, you can also use well-timed sword slashes to deflect them. The trick is timing it well, and a good side slash will make sure that you don't miss. Even if you're a little bit too far to the left or too far to the right, it won't matter, because you'll hit them no matter what. Just make sure you don't walk off the platform, obviously, because you're walking forward each time. With the boulders falling down now through this hole to the south, we can now walk through here unhindered. There's nothing we can do on this side for now, so head up the stairs. Again, not much we can do here, so just pass through, killing the yellow choo-choos as you make your way up the stairs. So as soon as this battle starts, this new enemy called a snapper will latch onto you with its whip, and if you either walk close or try to use your sword, he'll then just fling you sideways so you can't hurt him. Walking side to side does nothing, and you can't wiggle out of its grip. By backing up, he'll just suddenly pull on the whip and punch you. So how do we hurt him? I don't think they're actually super clear about what to do, but as you've probably guessed, we need to use his own attack against him. We want to stand farther away and face towards the snapper, and then as he pulls you towards him, quickly draw a line from Link towards the snapper, and this way Link will use a downward strike slash that will stab him. Just remember to face towards him and draw a line straight towards him at the right moment. If you try slashing side to side, you'll just mess up and get punched. When you successfully get past his defenses, you can just tap on him like crazy and Link will just chase him down effortlessly and defeat him. So before we move on in the temple, we can now have a whole ton of optional stuff we can get in the previous floors. If you'd like to get those with me, then go right and then go down the stairs. Otherwise, you can just skip ahead in the video where I return here. Now on this floor, there is a chest to the far south. At this ledge, you want to hold the L or R button, then tap on the wooden log thingamajiggers to swing across. Quickly tap on the next ones to reach the far side. So the whip can also be used to pull thorns out of vines, but be warned that you need to toss the thorn as well. If you just let go of your item button after pulling one, it'll then touch you, and you'll take damage. Seems kind of like a mundane little detail, but try to remember it since it will become important here in a little while. So back near the entrance, you want to use these logs to get over to the far left side where there's a fish thing, a fish switch. Kind of like a sandwich, but with no bread, I'm sorry to say. You want to go to the far north and open the chest in passing as you go one floor up. So this next puzzle requires the bomb bag that you get from Beetle's Airshop. Now, I would be surprised at this point if most of you didn't have this, because I'm sure almost all of you probably at least checked out Beetle's Airshop, and that item seems kind of obvious to pick up, but whatever, you never know, so that's why I'm mentioning it. So you may have seen this cracked wall earlier, but there wasn't much we could do in here at the time. Whip out a bomb and blow it up to find a hidden area of the temple. Inside, you'll see there's another room off to the right, but there's no entrance over there. Now to get to the room we just unlocked over to the right, you want to wait for this floating platform to move over to the far left, so that when we whip this log, we'll land on top of it. This leads to the stamp station for this temple, and that's all the collection we had to do on these lower floors. So after this, work your way back to the third floor where we fought the mini-boss. Okay, so at this point, the other directions we can go is north and west. However, only the west path actually leads to anything, so swing over there, so to speak, and head up the stairs. This stone tablet gives us a clue on how to solve the puzzle up ahead. Just keep that in mind. Further on, we have some yellow choo-choos to deal with. Remember, you can either slash them between their electricness, or you can stun them in the first place and take care of them, or you could just ignore them, but what would be the fun in that? Instead, you can just whip them to death. Use the fish rope thing here to open the door, and now we have that puzzle that was referenced in that stone tablet a moment ago. It told you to pull the handle that was farthest from your grasp, so head to the farthest ledge, the farthest right, and it also happens to be the farthest distance from your whip. So here they toss a slightly different type of puzzle at you. Rather than pulling out a rope thing, this fish has a sword in its mouth. You want to whip it, and then keep the item button pressed in if you're using the L or R buttons anyways. And now tap on the screen, and when you release the stylus, Link will then throw the sword. You want to toss it into the other fish to create a chest, as well as a shortcut back to the central chamber. At long last, you want to go north, and before you move on, you should get the treasure that is in the top right corner of the map. Now watch your map and wait for the platform to be at the right position so that you can land on it. So you can also thrash your enemies with the whip, which I did show earlier as well, but it does half as much damage as your regular sword slash, so that's kind of depressing, but it's also very quick, making it great for enemies like keys, which are fast-moving and they get away from you pretty easily. And also its range is actually really far, since for the most part you can pretty much reach anywhere on your screen, so it's almost like a third the distance of your total screen length is about how far that reaches. Sweet shortcut! Moving onwards, you want to tap on each one of these logs as soon as you can, and if you tap on the screen really fast, Link will just zip right through this. All the logs tend to be in about the same position, so if you're just tapping on the same point on your screen, you should just go right through that really fast. Now in this next room, we're locked in here with a new enemy, kind of. Choo-choos can now wear hats. Naturally, this just makes them even more adorable than ever before, but they also are a little bit more aggressive, chasing after you rather than wandering around. Perhaps more importantly, though, they are invulnerable to your attacks. If you disapprove of this fashion statement, you can use the whip to take off their helmet, which can then be tossed anywhere you like. I think it's actually pretty cool how they, run away as soon as you uncover them. They're like, no! They kind of just sluggishly go away. Alternatively, you can also toss bombs at them to break their helmet as well, but that's kind of a little bit excessive. Alright, so moving on to the next floor, as before we tackle this room, you want to go through these vines here and check out the stone tablet for a clue about what we need to do here. Next, go to the center of the room where we have 2 snappers to dispatch. They aren't really that hard because now we can sneak up on them, and from now on they'll just kind of chase you down and lash you, dealing damage. They won't actually grab onto you like the first one we faced did. It's best to stun them with the boomerang or whips so that you can close the distance. So first off, you want to enter the lower left path and ignore the fish on the wall here for now, and at the very end you'll find a handle that spins a propeller and makes it float in the air for a while. You want to tap the red handle of the propeller and then keep the stylus on the screen, otherwise Link will let go. So at this point we have to wait a while it travels to the far south of this room, and this part kind of annoys me. Couldn't they have just placed this a little closer or something? Instead, we're just traveling halfway across the map, which seems completely unnecessary to me. So at the end, let go with the stylus and then head up the stairs. In this new room, you'll be locked away with a new enemy. These choo-choos are electrified all the time, and while they can be stunned with the whirlwind, this doesn't actually stop their charge. The boomerang does nothing, but you can toss bombs at them, and if you have those, it may make it a lot easier to just simply blow them up. Otherwise, you'll have to use these swords that come out of the fish, and this can be pretty frustrating since the choo-choos have to be pretty far away for this to work, and it sure feels like the sword just isn't very, accurate. It's a little more clockwise than when you're actually aiming or something. Because of those two things, you may have to be here for a little bit trying to line yourself up correctly, which is frustrating. When you successfully kill them, this will create a log on the far right side of the map, which leads to a small key later, so don't feel like you can skip this. This is required to beat the temple. With that taken care of, go back downstairs and use the propeller to get back to the main part of the room. Alright, remember that stone tablet in the top right corner of this room? It told us to pull out the 3 swords in a row to open the way forward. You know, whip the handles here and throw these swords away so that you don't accidentally pick them up. And when I first played this, I remembered that I had lots of trouble tapping on these logs up ahead, but now I don't really have any problem with it, so I'm not really sure what I was doing wrong back then. The goal is to tap the skinny part of the log, which will make Link grab on. Notice how these are steadily going upwards, and you may have to adjust the placement of your stylus to make sure you actually hit it. On the next floor, we have more of these logs. However, the last one is a bit lower. Link will actually fall, and you need to tap the log before you fall into the abyss completely. And you should be able to just keep your stylus in the same position the entire time and just tap like crazy so that when you fall, that tap will actually hit the log, and then you'll swing and everything will be just hunky-dory. Hit the crystal switch at the end to lower the tallest log, allowing you to return to the previous floor. So, this stone tablet here is informing us that we need to make the fish 1 floor down and mimic the ones on this floor. You want to use your map to mark the placement of the swords. If you like, you can even select 1 floor down to mark that map directly, and that way you don't have to copy it repeatedly. So first, again, we need to take the far bottom left path, and at the end we have some vines that are blocking our path. Remove the thorns, and then pull the handle at the end to create a chest nearby containing treasure. Work your way over there, marking your map as you go. So here we have a helmet-wearing choo-choo, but we also have a blue one nearby, so it may be smart to grab the helmet, toss out the blue one, and then finish killing the red choo-choo. Now on this narrow ledge we have another choo-choo to deal with. You can use the swords if you like, don't worry, they do grow back. It's kind of tricky though, so a better option may be to simply just use the whirlwind to blow this guy off the ledge entirely. Once you've gotten rid of it, you want to run to the end and whip across the gap here to find a chest containing a small key. This chest was created earlier in a puzzle we completed one floor down, so if you don't have that chest, you need to backtrack a little bit and solve that puzzle so that you can get the small key. Alright, so once you have your map marked with all the locations of the swords, return to the far northeastern corner of the room and make sure that this crystal switch is green so that it's activated. This makes it so that the logs are actually accessible, otherwise the logs will be not in the right position and you cannot go back. So start tapping on the logs and just make sure you're tapping in the middle of the logs so that way it actually works correctly. They are kind of going up and down, so you have to make sure you're tapping in the right places on your screen. So now we have the rather odd task of moving all the swords around. You can leave them on the ground and then move them over and then whip them again to move over pretty far if you need to. So in this way you can like grab swords and move them all over the place. So once you have all of these swords placed correctly, this will open the door in the lower part of the room. And you should also have a small key at this point, so head south and open the door. This is kind of interesting for a dungeon since you're just required to solve one puzzle and then, it opens the door and you're able to proceed. But here you have two very different puzzles. It's not like you need multiple keys, it's that you have keys and then something else. So it's kind of interesting. Now remember, for these propeller things, you need to tap on the red handle and then keep the stylus on the screen and only let go when you want to drop. Okay, so this is where keymasters start really getting pretty difficult in the game. These guys have a tendency to backhand you into the abyss here, which is really frustrating. There's two different ways you can do this. You can try to stun them like crazy with pretty much any of your weapons and just set down the key and then stun them and then pick it back up again, move a little bit, set it back down, stun them. And in general, this does work, but it's kind of slow. And also be careful that if you're using the whirlwind that you don't accidentally whirlwind the key into the abyss, because that would be unfortunate. In general, for this particular occasion, I think defeating them is a better option. I like to lure them all to the south so that I don't have to worry about the key, and then kill all three of them at once. Quickly make a run for it, but do not toss the key just below the stairs, otherwise when the guy appears he'll grab it. Instead, throw it either to the left or to the right, and then quickly defeat that keymaster, and you should have more than enough time to pick the key up and toss it into the lock before the other ones come back. Whew. Now that may take you a couple tries, but believe me, it is possible. Alright, so I've gotten all the chests in the dungeon, and this is the final room, which is pretty self-explanatory. Snag the recovery hearts here to heal, then check out the stone tablet to get a warp back to the beginning if you need to get some potions or whatnot. And the only thing to watch out for here is grabbing these thorns, because otherwise they'll touch you and you might accidentally hurt yourself after you've already most likely used the jars. So with that, join me for the next video, and I will show you how to defeat the boss.